Hello, I'm Nadine Stanley. I'm the state facilitator for FCCLA. I work for the Department of Education here in Pennsylvania, and Bureau of Career and Tech Ed is the bureau that I'm with. Um, Career and Technical Student Organizations are known as CTSOs, and Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America is also what we refer to as FCCLA. We have four pathways: education and training, visual arts and design, hospitality and tourism, and human services. Um, Dan, are you ready?
Yes. Good morning. How are you? My name is Dan Wagner. I'm the Culinary Arts Instructor at the Greene County Career and Technology Center. I'm FCCLA. I'm on the board of directors, and I've been teaching for 32 years. And today gives me a great opportunity to speak to you about FCCLA and how it enriches and gives the students an educational opportunity to go further within their curriculum. And over the 32 years that I've had students involved with this organization, I've learned as an educator to use it as a tool to benefit my students in the sense of enriching that educational experience. In the classroom, when students are working with FCCLA, they have the opportunity to gain skills through leadership as they take on positions as class officers or go into the next level, which would be state officers, which you'll get to hear further about as we go on today's presentation. But also students have the opportunity for STAR events. And STAR events is just a phenomenal tool that I have used over the years. And when we look at, FCS, Family Consumer Science, and we look at career education, as an educator, I've been involved with other student organizations, but I've really taken a true love to FCCLA because the opportunities. And when we look at STAR events, give you an example of, like, for instance, career investigation, where students have the opportunity to investigate careers within their own studies, class studies, or for instance, if they're in early childhood education, they can work with projects within their classroom to gain knowledge. And then there's other programs such as event management and culinary competition and hospitality tourism. There is more educational opportunities through FCCLA, I believe, than any other organization there is. And you're able to inject this all into your curriculum. I keep saying that, but it's amazing. This year alone, I have seniors going into the classroom and they're working on food innovation, which is science projects, and learning how to work and market their project and create a project. They're learning about costing, and it all flows right into that class. And then also, for instance, one of my favorites is entrepreneurship. We have students that do projects where they design and create businesses, and they work with the local community doing feasibility studies and market surveys and looking at tax structures. These are things that just go further. And then on top of that, you will see the success if students go into state level competitions and go further into that to national levels. There are scholarship opportunities that can take students to the next level of going on to college. And we've seen that success at Greene County Career and Technology Center over and over and over in previous years. And today it gives me a great opportunity. We're going to be talking to Richard Sager, who is a graduate from my program years back, and he's going to talk about his experience competing in various events and learning. And then we have Natalia Rosario, who is going to be our first student speaker, and her life story is just amazing. And I just spoke to her the other day, and I met her years ago, and it's just, in fact, I'm going to bring her on right now, and she's going to talk, and we're going to talk back and forth a little bit and hear her story, how FCCLA actually changed her life and developed her into the person she is today. Natalia?
Hi, Mr. Wagner.
So anyways, the other day we were talking about your story. So just talk to me from, 8th grade and your transition into 9th grade and your high school educator that made a difference, your chapter advisor, and just go over what we were talking the other day. It was great.
So my name is Natalia, and I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. At the age of 13, I came from Puerto Rico to Pennsylvania, and that was my 8th grade. From then on 9th grade, I joined FCCLA. And my freshman year, I know that as a student in high school, you struggle to fit in. Well, FCCLA was that place where I felt at home, I fit in. My advisor, Mrs. Green, she is the most wonderful human being. And I know every advisor in FCCLA, they are so passionate about what they do and their students. Everybody is so great. I joined 9th grade, and from then on, I participated in STAR events and our different activities that we have in our high school. We helped create a middle school chapter and just a lot of fun stuff throughout high school.
Now, Natalia, you were in FCCLA, you started to gain leadership through being a class officer, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And then from there, you had the opportunity, which in the Commonwealth, we have this state, you can become a state officer. And I believe you ran for state office and became a state officer. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it changed you?
Yeah, I was a local officer and a state officer. And throughout my time in office, I gained so much leadership experience. I was able to work on my communication coming from Puerto Rico. I didn't have any prior English knowledge, and that was something stepping out of my shell, which I didn't even know that existed. I just getting to the responsibility of being a leader and the confidence that it gave me, the amazing relationships that I developed. Being a state officer, it just opened so many doors inside of me, pretty much, that gave me confidence to be who I am today.
And then when you were doing state officer, you learned the leadership and everything of that sort, but you decided to step in and go for one major big challenge, which you don't hear too many students have the opportunity to do. And you, I believe, went into the exchange program with FCCLA?
Yes, FCCLA has a Japanese exchange program, and which they partner with Kikkoman and Youth for Understanding. 14 students across the nation are picked, and they get to live the experience of a lifetime by going to Japan. And that was probably the most challenging but incredible thing that I could have ever done. It was a once in a lifetime experience that without FCCLA wouldn't have been able to happen.
Now, let me ask you, through your experience of being a state officer and going through the whole process with FCCLA, looking at other students within your organization, in your classroom, your chapter, did you notice a growth and development with all those students also?
Yes, I think that being able to participate in the conferences and the trainings and the workshops that FCCLA provided gave us an opportunity to grow that not every student in my grade or in my classroom had the chance to experience. And I know that the experiences that I had personally and shape who I am today would have never been possible without FCCLA and all the amazing people that are part of this organization.
That's fantastic. You know what, if you can stay online, we might have some people in the chat room that would like to ask you some questions. Okay. And
yes.
Anything else? You good?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And sitting in the dugout right now, Richard Sager. Richard, how are you today? You're gonna have to unmute yourself there, Rich.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Hey everyone, how are you guys today?
And Richard, what year you graduated from CTC?
I graduated in 2016.
2016. Richard was in the FCCLA program. Rich, in the program, my program, you had the opportunity over 10th, 11th, and 12th grade to work with various STAR events. And I always lose track. How many STAR events were you involved with?
I was involved with 3-star events through 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, one each year.
Can you maybe go over shortly, talk about each one that you were involved with? Because when you were when
in
Richard
10th grade, I was involved with entrepreneurship, which is what you had said earlier. It is the development and process of creating a business from scratch, basically. So what I would do in that regard, when I was creating that project, I actually worked with our basically software development team using CAD and using a bunch of different processes to do 3D renderings and designs and blueprints of the structure I was going to create, as well as working with building and construction throughout our RCTC to get accurate estimates of what building costs were going to be and what materials were going to cost. And so a breakdown of everything that was going to happen, as well as working with the community to become part of the local chamber of commerce, doing local feasibility studies, working with the economic department of the county, and also economic department of Washington County and further counties to further develop the idea. At the end of this project, actually, once I had won national competition, Mr. Reiner remembers this, they did actually come to me and ask me if I was actually going to build the restaurant because I had all the information available to actually do so. And I could have gotten funding to build the restaurant and create it for real. And then moving on to my second year.
Richard, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
The interesting thing about Richard's entrepreneurship project, which I still kind of find it, we work with economic development, everything of that sorts when they're doing it's a true management project. And I know you haven't been back to Greene County in a while, but where Richard was going to locate the restaurant, the county actually looked at some of your work, and now PennDOT actually created roadways to go back to where they can place restaurants in that area. So you did make a big impact in the sense of the county looking at future ideas. So thank you on that. Okay, go to your second year.
Well, I mean, I did actually get a chance to work with the development project manager of that site when I did it from Burns and Scallows in Washington, PA. And Canonsburg, PA. I worked with the director that you had set me up with to get the packets and stuff on that location and break it down to the different candidates and stuff. I actually got to see a bunch of the candidates and stuff that they were having putting in bids for those locations as well. And then moving on to 11th grade, we moved on to food innovation to try to expand what I had already known in entrepreneurial aspect, and wanted to do that in the development of a food product. So the different factor of the industry. So moving from building a restaurant to running a physical location to then moving to like warehouse production, moving to taste testing, moving to demographical studies and stuff around the area to understand how individuals eat, perceive, and what age gaps are, what your demographic is going to be. And then also building a product that tastes good. Again, something that tastes good, something that's good for the environment, is biodegradable and in green, because that's where we're heading as a community and as the US. So doing that, I created this food product that actually have intellectual property rights on still, which is what I'm actually trying to build this myself as opposed to getting angel investors, because I did, when I was doing this competition and went to national competition, they do have an FCCLA. Some of the people judging you own companies and are very, very successful individuals. And they had approached me and asked if they could invest. And I wanted to do it myself because I want to be the person that takes everything they built and builds it themselves to show people that you don't need somebody else's help to be able to do something yourself. And that's kind of what I'm in the works now of doing. But moving on from that year, after winning second place in nationals and first place in nationals in my first year, I went on to my third year doing a hospitality, tourism, and recreation, which is moving on from the aspect of not only building a restaurant, but also the hospitality and like hotel side of things, and learning occupancies, learning different factors of tourism, such as like packets and things you're going to put in a hotel, communication with other departments in your community, such as like Idlewild, like Six Flags, and like learning how to implement all those into your business structure, like getting like coupons and discounts and stuff for employees, as well as rebuilding that restaurant. But more importantly, building a website and a web design to be able to put your stuff on social media, make a Facebook account, make an Instagram account, and be able to optimize these social medias to actually function and send out pictures and rotating schedules and give information to the local community that you're open, hours of operation, and so on and so forth. And what this project did that was different than entrepreneurship is, again, it was more of the social media aspect, more of the advancement of technology to say, hey, we're going to be out here, we're going to be getting more people and more reach. So when you come to this town, you've already known about this restaurant before you actually saw it in person. And during that project is what I learned was more so coding, working with other departments throughout the school, again, more testing and everything like that. And then using some of the knowledge I had already learned to kind of build on that, and then build on that web design and build on the social media aspect to kind of give me a more of a social media marketing idea and how to code and etch websites into true design that are seamless and flawless to go page to page. And for that project, I won first at states, but when I came back, before I could go to nationals, I was approached about an opportunity to go to Germany for a program.
Now, Rich, before we get into the Germany part, over the 3 years, you were a culinary student at the CTC.
Correct.
And if I'm correct, you were good at cooking, but I've always thought you were more brilliant in the management aspects of it. We've always talked about that. And that is one of the things that, you know, I go back to with FCCLA. It gives me the opportunity to kind of branch out in a direction where I have students that have that, you know, culinary flair, but then their management level is, like you can see how Richard is talking and knowing about that, and being able to implement these competitions and, you know, these projects, the projects that entered into competitions. Rich, do you feel that these were the building blocks that took you to the next level?
I feel like they're extremely important. They build your confidence a lot, as Natalie had said. They build your confidence a lot. So coming from a background of like, let's say a lot of people in middle school, you get bullied in middle school, like when people feel as though like you, let's say you know more things than you should at your age. People kind of feel threatened like that when you're in middle school and everything, and they're kind of like, oh, who's this guy? What is he talking about? What is that? And then when you go to high school, you kind of like, oh, well, again, nobody's on the same page as you. But then when you go to FCCLA, everyone's on the same page. Everyone's in the same mindset. So everyone has that mindset that they want to continue to grow. They want to continue to evolve and educate themselves. And it builds long-lasting, not just friendships, but it builds long-lasting relationships with the State Department of the U.S., the State Department of Pennsylvania, and even going further from that to build local community involvement, such as like my school board, voting location with my school board, voting relationships with my principals, and like getting a lot of backing from people that you normally wouldn't get backing from, because you're showing that initiative and you're showing that you want to do more. And whether these kids know it or not, educators love to see that. Whether the kids are shown it every day on a daily basis, all educators want to see that and they love to see that. And that's something FCCLA provides, because it gives the student the ability to go, hey, I'm confident enough to come up and talk to you like an equal. And that shocks adults. It does. If somebody in 9th grade or 10th grade walks up to you and starts talking to you about economics on the same level an economic teacher does, you kind of go, what? You kind of see the person as an equal, and you see them as somebody like-minded. You can have an actual physical conversation with on the same spectrum you would another adult. And that same process is brought by FCCLA to give you that background and understanding to be able to have these conversations, to be able to understand these individuals.
Now, Rich, you know, Natalia was telling us an interesting story about her having the chance to go over to Japan. When you were in high school, your senior year, and it was kind of interesting. You had all the success with FCCLA, and you ran into a program, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because, you know, I always butcher it, but you ran into an opportunity because you gained a confidence level in public speaking, I know, over the time. And just briefly, what program you went into and where you went. We don't need to hear, but just tell us about where it led you to.
So the program I was on was CBYX Congress Bundestag. It is a program through the State Department of Pennsylvania and the federal State Department as well. And when I went for this program, they picked 25 students, I believe, to go on this program. Same like they picked like 22 for Natalie's. they pick like a few students to go in this program. And this opportunity was really great because you get a lot of new language experience. You get the opportunity to go to a German high school, and you get the opportunity to go to a German language school, learn the language, sit with the kids, understand their structure of schooling, how they are, how their culture works. And then beyond that, you actually get to do internships within Germany, and you actually get to go, let me see how these things are working. And I actually got the experience to work in a 4-star hotel and restaurant in Germany. And at the end of this experience, I actually was offered a job in the hotel and restaurant I was apprenticing in. And the thing about that is it gives you like a spectrum, like that if I wouldn't have had FCCLA backing me, and I wouldn't have had this experience to meet these individuals and get my voice out there, I would have never had these opportunities, and I would have never seen so much success with these opportunities if I wasn't given the ability to make these communications and make these dialogues happen. But as it so be it, Mr. Wagner, being the person he is, put me in there. It's like, hey, listen, just give it a try. My 10th grade year, and I never looked back since. Every year I wanted to do an event. Every year I wanted to do more. I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to do the same thing. I want to do something different and continue to learn and continue to grow. And I think that's kind of the mindset when it comes to education that FCCLA and Mr. Wagner gave me, is that growth is something that you should be proud of, and you shouldn't be scared of. You should be always happy to go outside your comfort zone, because you're going to learn incredible things. And that's what FCCLA offers.
Hey, thank you. You hang on there. We might have some questions.
Okay.
Real quick, one of the things, I wanted to talk about too is with FCCLA, all levels of learners can be have the opportunity within your program. And that's one thing I love to talk about. We were talking about entrepreneur programs and things of that sort, but there's a lot of other different various events from, like I said, career investigations, and there's early childhood education. But one of the ones that I really enjoyed was Repurpose Redesign. A few years ago, I had one of my students, and how should I say, not strong in public speaking at all. And he was a kid that was trying to find a project that would be right in his realm. And it was neat. I brought him in and said, hey, you can do an FCCLA project. And he was a little concerned, and he didn't like his paperwork, not at all. And he was a little bit creative. And we did the Repurpose Redesign project. And I took a student that was very much, I would say, in education. He'd say he was backwards and he didn't know which way to go. And we started looking around the kitchen, and it was neat. I said, David, what can we do? What can we redesign in this classroom? He said, and recycle, redesign. And he's like, I don't know. And we started pulling tin cans out of the garbage can, number 10 cans. And we looked at it, and he started researching. He goes, how about a hobo stove? And he started building a hobo stove, which, it's just one tin can, and you put some holes in it. But as the process started, he started adding another can, another can, another can. Then he decided to start looking at scrap metal. It was down in the welding classroom, and he built a box around it. Then we went to Lowe's or Home Depot and got the spray that he put on a grill. Next thing you know, he's in the machine shop, and he's looking and designing, little designs on the outside of his shell. And when he was finished, he created a stove that, it just wasn't a stove, but it was a smoker, it was a steamer. It had all these parts. But the biggest problem he had was he built this, and he was like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to speak to anybody. And he was very quiet. And, he's a different style learner. And we turned around, and he had to present a 5-minute presentation of his project. And they put a board together, and we did it in a timeline. And we just said, tell us about your project and what you created. And he did this. He went to state competition with, it was the most unbelievable stove. He knew how to use all the cooking methods and techniques with it. And he did his presentation, and it was amazing. It was just an amazing product at the end of the day. But what was the most amazing part was when David walked across the stage, and he won first place in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And he had the chance to go out to California. And this would have never been the opportunity in a lifetime that people would have expected. And the accomplishment that he did, and the way he felt about everything at the end of the day was just amazing. And that, you know, all level of learners having the opportunity in FCCLA to find a place within it. As an educator, you can look at these events and basically you could place a student, any student, into them. And that's one of the things I find over the 32 years I truly enjoy about this opportunity. Ms. Stanley, would you like to jump in and talk a little? Or is Debbie, where's Deb? Mr. Walensky here.
Is Debbie here? If not, we can talk.
Go ahead, Nadine.
I think that the nicest. You there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I know, but I can't see anybody, so I think my internet
Oh,
is.
we can see it.
running on a slow
Want to chime in on anything right now?
Pardon me?
Would you like to talk a little bit?
Yes, I can talk a little bit. I have been FCCLA advisor a little bit longer than Dan has been, and I've had very similar, many similar cases of amazing opportunities happen to my FCCLA alumni. So as they leave with all those wonderful skills where they build self-confidence and a degree of professional behavior and the ability to speak to adults, they move on in whatever field, not necessarily a field connected to family and consumer sciences, but in whatever field, they do get to take those employability skills with them, and they have just overwhelmingly succeeded against odds that I was amazed at. You know, kids from poor rural towns taking the world by storm, and I think it's important. One of the young men that I took with me to a national competition, as we were driving to Nashville through Cincinnati, and all of a sudden he was looking every which way, and I said, oh my goodness, what's wrong with him? Is he having a seizure? And the answer was no. He's never been out of our county. The idea of driving through a city with skyscrapers was just amazing to him. So that trip opened his eyes to a world of possibilities. 3 years later, with his confidence of attending more state competitions and national competitions, he applied to be an exchange student to Peru, and he won that opportunity. 10 students in the nation got to go to Peru for a 10-day experience in the rainforest. And he came back with that experience and finished his senior year in high school and applied to a college. And in the end, the college offered him full scholarship, tuition, room and board to come to their university to study. He was not a grade A student. He was probably a low A, high B student, but yet his other employability skills, the confidence and the way he could speak, earned him the privilege of going to a university that his parents would never have been able to afford to send him there. Another alumni that I had, who was a science major in college, had just presented her internship report to a room full of very, very important people at the company. And their first question that they asked her was, where did you learn to present like that? And she said, I learned it in high school in FCCLA. Again, a great employability skill that she took with her into a totally different field, and it helped to make her shine. Oh my goodness, I could tell you many, many, many stories, but they all have the same theme. The employability skills that they learn in FCCLA can be translated into any profession that they decide to go into. Mr. Wagner, chef?
Yes. Oh, it's my turn again. You know, one of the things I was listening to, like you were saying, that we got stories that can go on for hours. I can sit in the room. Is you know, it's where FCCLA built the students. But one thing that we haven't touched base on, and I know the audience out there today, is administration. And as I was sitting here jotting some notes down, it's over the 32 years of my education, I've had solid administrators that supported FCCLA. And that is one of the most important things. I think administrators need to sit down and look at what FCCLA has available, because over the years, Greene County on the tip down here next to West Virginia, just like you said, students aren't getting out and everything, but the scholarships that come with it. But if administrators would look at how the FCCLA projects, STAR events align with curriculum and how it can benefit, like I said before, all levels, of learners, I think you'd be amazed. And I'm blessed, over the 32 years that my administration was always supportive of this organization. There's a lot of work. And I think some people, they step back now in education and, educators sometimes are still like to come in and leave, but the FCCLA advisors are the ones that are going to place many more hours into it. It's like just having a club in your school, but it's more than a club. It's a lot of time and it's a lot of additional educational experiences for the students. And if administrators are out there and they're supportive of this program, we have to go through a lot of fundraising and we have to look at, oh, I'm on a school board. I know this word comes up is expenses. I'm on a school board. I'm an educator and I'm an advisor and I sit at the table. Tonight I'm going to be in education committee at Jefferson Morgan. And when you sit in these committee meetings and you're looking at different clubs that you're going to implement into your school, and the club advisor might be $1,500 and you sit there and go, that's a lot of money. But the revenue and the educational learning experience that you get out of an organization such as this just surpasses everything. And if we would look at over the years of how this benefited, and I think educators and administration needs to step back and truly look at this for family consumer science programs across the state. I mean, you look at it in the sense of, fashion design. And I look at fashion design and I think my high school that I'm a school board member now, back then we didn't have FCCLA and my daughter ended up going to FIT in Mercyhurst for fashion design. What would it have been like for her if she was in high school at a younger age and had that opportunity to participate in FCCLA and gain that further experience and nurture her into her career earlier? What a great experience that would be. And I think, today as I stand here in front of you, I would, challenge you to take a look and go onto the national website, look at the state website, reach out to Nadine Stanley and Deb and discuss how it can be utilized within your school and within your curriculum. Nadine, what do you have? And then I think what we should do is if there's any questions out there, hopefully we have people with questions. Deb or Nadine will have to read the questions because I'm a little bit further back from the television area. Okay.
Okey-doke. I think one of the nicest things about FCCLA is the career exploration part, especially for people that maybe aren't getting a lot of that out of their education whether it be they're just in a culinary program or they're over at their high school, the regular high school. It does open a lot of doors for our students. And I've also seen a different aspect where, like you said about the administrators, the community buying into having FCCLA is huge. I have an FCCLA chapter up in Forest, and they've gone through some growing pains with a teacher retired, and then they placed a teacher in there that practiced in for FCCLA for the FCS, and they keep keeping the FCCLA in place because they've had officers over in the past, and they totally understand how much FCCLA has impacted their rural community. So that is really big. They've seen a lot of their students and how far they've gone that were FCCLA members. So they want to keep it and they keep nurturing it and they keep doing the best they can with, they have low enrollment up there. Their school's very, very small. So they continue to keep it. And I think that's an awesome thing. And we see that throughout the state. We have a lot of programs where with the family consumer science teachers retiring and replacements coming in, we have a lot of school boards and a lot of administrators that are like, we want and we will keep FCCLA. So they're working really hard with their family consumer science teachers and their students to make sure that the program is a vital program, a good program, and that they're doing justice to FCCLA, and that their students are getting the opportunities to travel to regional meetings, state meetings, and national meetings. So we're doing everything we can to give them opportunities, because the opportunities bring growth and change and help our students. And we can see like more Natalias and more Richards that leave our program, and they're proud to come back and talk about it, because it was a big piece of their life. And it continues to be a big piece of their life because they know the value of what they got from FCCLA. So it's a nice process. It's really cool to be part of this and to work with even the advisors. We have a lot of advisors that come in and they're a little nervous. They're new at it. And people like Deb and Dan, they're kind of like, hey, come on, we want you to join us. We're going to help you. Give me a call if you have trouble. We do a lot of mentoring whenever we can. And I'm always here, phone call away, that people call me. I help people we fill the gaps, because like, just as simple as, how do I do my affiliation? How do I get my dues paid? Okay, I have my students, I've gone into the computer, I've worked through the portal, but now I have a big question because they're asking for a credit card. And I don't have the school's credit card. So it's really good because Deb and I can give them our perspectives and help them through that process, and give them what the options are. Like there's a special way that you can go in there and do a purchase order, so they can go back to their business office and ask for and process a check, and they can do that. But it doesn't look that way when they first glance at it, because it looks like, everybody has a school credit card and they can just put it in there. There's a lot of things that we support you with, we help you with. We want to make the experience with FCCLA work as easily and as smoothly as possible. Dan, Deb, do you have anything to add?
One thing I didn't mention about which, you tapped in the word community with FCCLA. And, we've been, if you listen to Richard and you listen to everybody in there, and I didn't talk about community, and I'm writing John's words here. Over the past 32 years in education, and Nadine really hit it. Your school board members are part of the community. And every time we do, and I'm going to talk two parts of community, every time we do projects, first of all, we have our students going out and working with the community. Richard talked about economic development. Richard talked about other areas within the community doing research projects, because we're making it as live as possible. Community service project they have within the FCCLA, which is a chapter service project. And every year my students do a chapter service project. And I think many of the chapters do chapter service projects around the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And the chapter service projects can be anything from students, adopting a park and cleaning it up. It could be helping with the local food bank, raising funds. It could be whatever the students create. And I look back over the years and we think about the community, and the community knows about FCCLA in Greene County. They know about this organization, but it's like how the students, I don't know how to say this, the CTC students, they come together, they become a group of their own individuals, and you say, hey, let's go out and do a community service project. And I go back to the one where we took this one park and we went to a park on a Saturday to clean it up. And there was a stream going by. I know this is stupid to talk about, but we got some time here. And you had these parents showing up with their pickup trucks. And, we went to Lowe's and Home Depot and got free shrubs, cleaning up hillsides. And you have kids in a creek, which is about 2 feet deep. And I'm like, oh my Lord, with their parents dragging out tires out of, the local creek in this area. But at the end, and then other parents bringing their pizzas and sodas and stuff. But when you step back as an educator, and I think we have to do this in education, you have to step back out of the photo and you just take a breath and you look at what your students are doing. You look at kids that were never engaged in other activities at their school, and you start seeing them communicating and working with other students or things of that within the community. And I get it. I really understand how it enriches them. And, when I look at the last couple of years for FCCLA, we'll be looking at fundraising and people will think this is crazy. but we'll do catering events. And one organization came to us and said, can you cater an event for us? And it's about 500 to 600 people a year. And we're like, yeah, we'll cater it. And at the end of every year, when we're done catering the event, the first thing they do is the individual comes up and says to me straight up, that's running the event, how many students are going to State Leadership Conference this year? And this is FCCLA. And I go, we have 10. And next thing you know, they're handing me a check to offset the cost of going to state conference. And they believe, they say, we want to wish your students the best of luck going on to conference. We want to help your organization out, how you helped us out. And like I said, I've seen my students standing in a commissioner's meeting, receiving, you know, those little folders they open up across the state. They're really cool. Getting recognized by our commissioners, getting recognized by our state representative for the accomplishments and the projects they do within their community. And that tells you something. You know, it's really nice. It's nice for their families. It builds strength within their own families, because FCCLA is family, career, community, leaders of America. It touch bases on everything. All right, I'm done with my little salesman pitch and that stuff, but it's the truth and it's the way I feel. But what I'd like to do is open up for questions. Debbie or Nadine, if there's any administrators out there that wants to ask questions to Richard, or that wants to talk to anybody else that's in the room, please throw some questions at us.
I have some questions for both Natalia and Richard. Natalia, I don't know if we caught what you're doing career-wise now. Can you give us a little bit of background and like what you did after you left high school, and then maybe wrap it up with what do you think you took from FCCLA that helped you the most?
So currently I work as a consumer loan specialist at a community bank, and I was in the midst of typing a response to Mrs. Jablinski. I think that what I took the most from FCCLA was the importance of community, and I try through my bank to stay as involved with our community as possible. We're part of the Rotary, and we do activities through them, collect donations, the Blackburn Center. We're involved with our schools. I just finished my master's in innovative instruction, and I am working on creating training material for our loan originators, and public speaking has come pretty handy. Like everybody has said, that is a big part of FCCLA. Just being able to speak to people is so important. Like Richard said, talking to people, and even if they were an adult when we were in high school, just feeling like you're on the same level, that is definitely something that now as an adult and creating training material for people, it has really given me, that is one of the greatest skills that as an adult you can have.
Natalia, I remember when I first met you, and I always loved seeing the transformation with state officers, the confidence that you gain and your presence and your speaking ability. It always seems to be growing and getting better and better. So, and especially like someone like you, that English wasn't your native language. So it's really impressive what you've done, and the hard work shows. So kudos
to you. I really owe
you.
it all to FCCLA and every advisor that has ever touched my life.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Richard, I want to ask you basically the same question. Can you tell me like what you're doing now, what you did since you left high school, and a little more on what you thought you took away from FCCLA that was most impactful?
So after my gap year going to Germany, I actually came back and started work at Sheets in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, and enrolled in online school to earn my bachelor's in business administration. So I'm currently, this is my final year for business administration. After this year, I'll have my bachelor's. And I've currently moved, like during that time, being able to go to school and work, as seeing that education and work experience are both a vital aspect to being a top candidate in the workforce. Seeing that throughout, like, again, my work and doing these projects, understanding what individuals are looking for in employees and understanding the conceptualization of what people in these companies want out of their employees and what they want them to have. Because at the end of the day, it isn't just a degree. It is experience, it is life experience, it is understanding individuals and who we are and what we're doing. And so being able to bring that from SC, I think that's the biggest thing I took away from them, was that it's, you have to understand that when you're going into the company, if you just have a bachelor's, but what makes you unique? A ton of people have a bachelor's, but FCCLA makes you unique because it gives you that experience. Like, you go into this interview and then you're dressed to the nines for the interview. You're speaking eloquently. You're speaking in the terminology and stuff that these individuals know. And they're like, oh, he doesn't just have a degree. He knows. He's had experience doing this. He knows what he's talking about. He knows exactly what the terms are, what the jargon is, and he can go in there and he can implement this into a strategic basis to help our company succeed. And I think those both bases are what students should look at. And that's why I think FCCLA was important to me, because it gave me both sides of the story. Why education itself is important, but also why experience is also important, and why you should be getting them both together to continue to grow yourself. And currently, I actually just moved from Chipotle to GoPuff, which is a food tech company. And now I'm running one of their kitchens where they do kind of like DoorDash orders, kind of like you get food in like 20 minutes, but you can order everyday groceries out of them as well in like 20 minutes. And they go right to your house and you'll get fresh food with that delivery as well. So that's the company I work with currently.
That's exciting. I'm trying to look through all the chat here and see the questions. One of the things I want to mention to both Richard and Natalia is Mrs. Kelleher, Jean Kelleher, here at the Department of Ed, Bureau of Career and Tech Ed. She would like to connect with both of you after this, after today, to see if you'd be interested and available to do maybe some more interview type things. We are looking to promote the importance of FCS and FCCLA on a national stage. And so if you can make sure you connect with us and we get that piece wrapped up, because we need to be able to self-promote and have people more aware of how valuable our programs are. Can someone point me in a direction if I'm missing a question? Because I don't want to overlook a question, and I'm trying to scroll through here.
Yeah, I'm looking through the Q&A box now. There's nothing in there, and I'm scrolling through the chat as well. I think you've caught everything, maybe.
Okay. Natalia and Richard, would you both like to take a turn at answering for me why you would encourage someone to be involved in FCS and FCCLA programs? I mean, I know it's a lot of the same things, but sometimes you have a different perspective than what we may have thought of before.
I think that, like I mentioned, FCCLA and FCS classes, everything kind of meshes together and provides you, as a high schooler and even middle school, a place that you belong and a place where everybody kind of wants to succeed. Everybody has like the same goals, and FCCLA and FCS provides you with so many opportunities, not only on the local, but the state and national level, the scholarships, going abroad and learning a lot, just so many opportunities that you would have never thought would have been possible. That's it.
I think from my perspective, being an educator and understanding and working with Mr. Reiner a lot directly, and being able to talk to a lot of people you wouldn't necessarily get the chance to, and seeing the experience around the community and seeing how communities actually want to help students, but the students don't reach out. The students don't know they can. So the issue with that is, like, when you join FCCLA, that's not the case. The community instantly backs you because they want you to be doing that initially when you're in school. But in our educational systems and in how we teach people in our schools, we're not hitting that message as hard as we should be, that it's not just about school. It's not just about doing your homework and getting an A. It's about being part of your community and being part of a change and working together as a communal society and building change together and continuing with that growth and continuing with that education, not just in your school, but outside, and continue to have that mindset that you're always happy to do that because you want to be a part of it. And then I feel like it gets a lot filtered out, but then once you join FCCLA, then it doesn't. You kind of feel the same mindset because you're with children and with kids across the country, across the state, that have the same mindset as you, that want to succeed, that want to grow. For instance, I know someone that I went to conference with. I know Mr. Wagner knows him too. Alec, my Greek friend, he actually runs a food truck in Pittsburgh and is very successful. He makes about 1.2 million a year out of his food truck in Pittsburgh. So, and he worked for FCCLA. We're really great friends. I still talk to him. He's on my Snapchat and everything. And that relationship, that was built through FCCLA. I would have never met him. I would have never met similar people with similar mindsets if I would have never had those experiences. And that deeper connection gives us growth, not just in our communities, but around the globe.
You mentioned Globe. I'm going to ask one final question to both of you, and so we can wrap this up. Tell us some both like a silly or like what you felt was the most cool thing that you came away with from your travel to Germany and Japan.
You can go first, Richard.
So one cool thing that I've always wanted to do, and I know Mr. Weiner knows this, I've always wanted to learn languages. I've always had a passion for languages. When I took Italian in 9th grade, I thought I was like going to lose out because then once I took culinary, I wasn't going to be able to take an elective, take a language. But when I took Italian, I like enjoyed every second of it. It's difficult. It's difficult to learn. I know it's difficult to learn new vocab, new ways to speak. But that, again, that connection with community comes from learning a language. So when I went to Germany, when I already understood that from Italian and I understood that working with FCCLA, it made me understand that when you're talking to people, even if it's not perfect, as long as you're trying to implement what you learned about their language and speak to them, that is the highest level of respect you can ever give anyone in a foreign country. And they will treat you likewise with that regard. So that being said, I made tons of friends overseas. Again, tons of friends that I still can connect with and talk to. That if I go back, they want me to, I can stay at their house. I don't even have to pay for a hotel. I can just stay at their house and we'll just swim in their pool and everything. And those connections are lifelong connections that people don't realize you can achieve. But through FCCLA, getting to meet my state representatives, getting to meet my federal representative and everything in the State Department, and getting to shake hands with these individuals that people be like, you shook hands with that person? And like getting all these experiences like to flow together to understand that there's more to life and there's more you can do as long as you put your mind to it. And I feel like that's what FCCLA guided me to do, that nothing was impossible as long as I tried.
So like Richard said, definitely all those connections. Prior to going to Japan, my school had a exchange program, and we actually had Japanese students come to Norway for a couple weeks. And I think that one of like the greatest experiences was definitely connecting with her once I went to Japan. We were able to do so many things that she had talked to me about whenever she had first come to the United States. And we visited the Ramen Noodle Museum. We went to Yokohama. We went to Japan Disney, and so many different adventures. I had never been at a hot spring, and it's such a kind of sacred thing in Japan. So many adventures that FCCLA provided me. I'm also still in contact with my host family in Japan, who are always emailing me, and my host siblings, who are still as cute as ever. Just FCCLA and FCS I don't even know how to express the gratitude that I have for the life that they pretty much opened my eyes to. It's just I don't I am so thankful, and the experiences made me into the person who I am today, and I am so proud of everything that I've came from to.
Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, Richard. Thanks you, Daniel. Thank you, Deborah. We appreciate all the help. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. My email is nstanley@pa.gov, and you can reach out to me, and you can find a lot of contact information on our website as well, and that's pafccla.org. We're here to help you. We want to see people benefit the way Natalia and Richard has. Have a good day.